this is what frustrates me about Frank, is that I feel like he kind of lands on a plan that, regardless of the quality of the opposition, will work and then could scale up to play against better sides in the Premier League in terms of what we were doing in possession and that sort of structure and the roles that he gave certain players and the freedom that he allowed others, like Simmons, etc. Then we just don't see it translated to Man United at home. And I get that he's managing the squad, I get that sort of thing, but it feels like this kind of constant chopping and changing and not sticking to a plan that works. And the only time he kind of sticks to a plan is when we haven't really seen it work, which is bizarre, where he kept playing kind of Paulinho and Bentancur in a run of games where it was clearly causing a problem for us. And if we go into that game on Saturday playing Paulinho and Bentancur at home, he's going to lose the fans from before the game's even kicked off. They see that team sheet. You've got Gray's back from injury now. Bergval's back from injury now. Sarr's back from injury now. There is literally no excuse. In a game like that, Fulham at home, no disrespect to them, because they're not a bad side, even though they've started the season poorly, they should be playing in that game. 100%. Simmons should be in the team, and Gray and Bergval should be behind them, in my opinion. Or one of them, at least, alongside one of the other.
Bergval, Sarr for me, but again, what two of those three? And I think that, if honest, I genuinely think he loses it if Bentancur and Paulinho starts. It's just
because like we spoke about it
earlier.
It's the feeling.
It's just the insistence.
Yeah, it's that feeling inside the ground on Saturday. I think we spoke about it in a clip we just did rather than on the pod. But like, it's a Saturday game. It's a Saturday at 8 p.m. where nobody wants to be there. Like, it's not going to be a. It's not going to be a. Not certainly not at the moment. And a Saturday 8 p.m. game anyway. You're not going to get the best atmosphere in the world because people just like, oh, I'd rather go for a curry. Do you know what I mean? Like, and
facts.
People are just like, if you see that team sheet come out, the groans will intensify. Those groans that have been there the last few weeks when we've been playing sideways and backwards will get groanier and louder on Saturday against Fulham at home when they just sit back and they just wait for us to try and do something. Yeah. And it's Paulinho and Bentancur just recycling the ball. People will lose their minds on Saturday.
It will also feel numb being in the stadium. I always find this. It was when we lost to Arsenal at home, first North London derby of last season. And then kind of after that, for the next couple of weeks, you just feel flat. Even if we go and beat Fulham, it will just feel flat because you've still got that imprint in your head of what happened in the derby. And it's just like...
Well, I remember last year, the follow-up game to the derby was Brentford, wasn't it? And we actually put in a really good performance. And it was like, we saw like a response, and then it's like, okay, that's what the fans can be like. If they see something that they're happy with, the atmosphere is totally dictated on the way that we play and results. And the problem is for Frank, if you're a safety first kind of manager, and I guess this is kind of a good segue into talking about Frank more generally. Yeah, you're judged by your results, aren't you? Because that's all you're there to do. If you're not like, right, okay, I'm going to really focus on trying to implement my attacking style of football, and we might have problems at first, but hopefully over time it will kind of work and we'll figure it out. And he's a project manager that you're kind of just going to get behind, who's really trying to implement a specific style of play. If you're Frank, who is a manager who has largely played the percentages throughout the course of his managerial career in the Premier League, I definitely thought that could kind of scale up, and I thought he was the right sort of balance of manager that we needed. I genuinely believe that, and I think a lot of other Spurs fans did as well. A lot rightly had sort of concerns that are being realised now, but he felt like the right appointment at the right sort of time for us. But if you are a manager that, like the Arsenal game, and also like a lot of other home games that we've had this season, because the Arsenal game is just the icing on the cherry on top of what's been a grim cake for a lot of the, like, away from home, we've actually been, obviously we had the best record in the league going into this game, and most people aren't as bothered about the way that we play away from home. Obviously there's been some poor performances like Bodo Glimt and Monaco, but like Everton away, I don't think, obviously there was people that had concerns, but most people were like, good solid win that, away from home, building the foundations, that's fine. Same as at like Leeds away, which was a decent performance, Brighton away as well, which actually we played some good football in that game against Brighton. And that's what's frustrating, is that we've actually regressed quite a lot over the course of the last few weeks, when we built a good foundation in the first sort of 7 or 8 games, right, where it was like, okay, I understand why he's trying to make us sort of solid at the back first and kind of build that foundation. Now it's time to build on top of it. He's had enough games now. He's nearly managed 20 games for us across all competitions, where it's like now is time to kind of take that leap and start building an in-possession game. But if you're a manager, and we're 9th in the table, if you're a manager that is just safety first and quite risk-averse, which has been evident so far throughout the season, you will just be judged solely on your results rather than
Yeah.
the style of play, even though it's not good enough. And the results aren't good enough to stack up to just playing without the handbrake on. Well, playing with the handbrake on, sorry.
Yeah, and this is the thing for Thomas Frank with me, right? You look at when a manager comes into your football club, there are a number of indicators as to things you get behind. There's personality and how they come across in interviews, off the pitch, how much they make you believe in them through their words, through their actions, through how they carry themselves. There's obviously the most important one, which is performances on the pitch in terms of results. Are you getting the results to match? It's a results business at the end of the day. And then the third thing is the performances, and are you seeing an identity? Are you seeing something tangible week upon week that you're building upon that you can get behind, and the idea that you can see, and something that you can believe in and go, okay, we might have lost or we might have drawn this game, but you can see what we're doing here. You can see something that is trending in the right direction, or at least something that could be built in the right direction. At the moment, on Thomas Frank, I loved his personality at Brentford. He was always one of my favourite managers in the league. I was on record saying this multiple times. I haven't really seen that at Spurs. I haven't seen that really likeable side of his personality at Spurs yet so far, which maybe sounds a little bit harsh to say. And I know that it's a different environment. It's his first time managing.
It was like he's feeling the pressure a little bit,
big club. Yeah, and I just haven't been inspired by him in interviews. It's been dull. It's been mundane. It's been the same message repeated over and over again after the same sort of performances. There's nothing that's trending in our performances that I can really look at and get behind and go, I believe in that. You know, we've talked about Ange Postecoglou a lot, and he's not a cry for Ange Postecoglou. I do not want him back. Absolutely was the right decision to sack him, in my personal opinion. But at least under Ange, when things started to go really wrong, you could still go
back in, wouldn't he?
I know what our idea is here. I know what we're trying to do. And in certain games, you could see it, and you could see where we could trend and where we could go. Under Frank, I actually don't think there's a single indicator that's positive as to where our performances are currently going. Could that happen? Could we see that against Fulham maybe? Could this be almost the stick that broke the camel's back, and Thomas Frank has to change, adapt, become more brave, and he sort of starts to build something from there? Maybe. The chances are pretty low, to be honest with you, but maybe. And if he does that against Fulham, then I will fully get behind him again, and I will fully back him. And if I'm starting to see things that I'm liking, I will absolutely say that, and I'll give him a fair shot, because he's only been here 4 months, and realistically, managers have had terrible starts in the past and gone on to achieve very good things at football clubs. You can't forget that.
Look at Amorim right now. He's fat. It has sort of the penny sort of dropped, and things have changed. And it sort of clicked a little bit more together. I mean, Amorim's a more recent example, but there are better examples.
Yeah, for sure.
It does take a bit of time sometimes, but it's like you're right. If you were, I would swap right now. Spurs being ninth in we're ninth in the Prem obviously at the moment, 2 points off of Champions League.
Yeah,
I'd rather be 13th and have and the performances be consistently better and kind of trending in a direction where it's like it's just not happening for us. I'd rather be in that state right now and go, we might be in a worse position in the table, especially at this early stage where the table doesn't matter loads. It's a good reflection of where people are probably at, but it's not the be all and end all obviously at the moment right now. I'd rather be 13th and kind of look at it going, well, at least we've got something to get behind. At least I can see what the manager's trying to do. We're just getting a bit unlucky in certain games. The ball's just not going in the back of the net for us. Yeah, there are things that need to improve as well, but for the majority, the indicators are good. Where if you look at the underlying numbers, which sometimes people just want to ignore, and I think at the start, right, some of the underlying numbers in terms of chance creation, etc., weren't that great. But in the very early stages, you're like, okay, well, it's too early. Like, he's trying to do this. He's trying to make us more defensively solid. And also, the defensive record that we had at the start of the season backed that up. Like, we were good. Yeah. We didn't look like conceding goals in games, really. Bournemouth sort of did a job on us and created chances. But other than that, in that first batch of games, I can't think of many other games where that was the case and we didn't have good defensive performances.
It was Monaco. It was Monaco for me with that switch, and I was like, we got battered there. We conceded so many chances. And then from then on, our defence has looked nothing short of dreadful. With the Chelsea
Monaco
game,
was
conceded
after,
4 XG.
What was the game before Monaco? Was it Villa? It was Villa, wasn't
it? Game. Yeah, Villa before Monaco. So we have Villa and then Monaco. And Villa even like the Villa performance wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as what we've been seeing recently. It wasn't good, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
since the Monaco game, really, I've been like, okay, now our defence is starting to look incredibly exposed. Because the Villa game, we didn't create much, but we didn't concede many chances.
They scored with literally
either.
the only 2 chances they had, and they were both worldies from outside the box. So that was one of them where people could swallow it a bit more in terms of like defensively. That wasn't even an issue at that point. Whereas Monaco, you're right. It was like we've
2.8 XG against us. I think Vicario was a superhuman that day. Saved us from losing that game.
Yeah, the game plan was incredibly confusing because we didn't sacrifice anywhere near enough defensively to warrant conceding the amount of chances that we did. It was bizarre, like absolutely bizarre.
Honestly,
and I think that's where it was after the last international break. Oh, sorry, the international break before last. Mm-hmm. That's when it started to turn because we went into the international break after Leeds, a decent performance where maybe there was a couple of times where we got away with it, but on the whole it was okay. And it was like, right, we've got that monkey off our back. And I said this at the time. It's like sometimes you get a bit caught up in judging everything through like a tactical lens, and sometimes it is good to just get those almost. That feeling off your back of just like, we've not done that for so long. We've not won before an international break for so long. I don't really care necessarily how we did it, even though we played okay in that Leeds game. And there were people going, there's loads of things to be concerned about. I was like, actually, let's just enjoy this for a moment. Because how many times over the last few weeks the last few years have we gone and had to sit on a shit result for 2 weeks during an international break because we aren't able to win before them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But since that moment, things have just really started to trend
steeply
in a bad
downhill.
direction,
I mean,
a bad direction.
Like
and I was just going to read some of the stats in terms of like in terms of chance. I mean, everyone saw the stat sheet from yesterday where it was like our worst performance of the season in all of the attacking metrics, which wasn't a surprise. It wouldn't have taken a genius to work that one out. But if you look at, for example, expected goals, Tottenham are currently 17th in the Premier League with 11.1 XG generated so far this season.
Big chances created. Games. God.
Big chances created. We are currently 13th. We've only created 20 compared to Chelsea's 39. Crystal Palace is 36. Man City's 37. Touches in the opposition box. We are currently 11th in the Premier League. It's really, really concerning in terms of that. It's just, it's just shots on target per match. We are currently 16th. We're averaging 3.3 shots on target per game. That's unacceptable, really, for Tottenham.
Embarrassing. And this is like, where do we go from here? It's like Thomas Frank has never been a manager who is gonna sort of sacrifice his foundations for something better going forwards. And he did at Brentford,
but it took him a long time. It took them to, which was totally fair in terms of the expectations at Brentford, right? You want to, what they did so well to kind of build that platform of becoming a secure mid-table Premier League club. And it was actually, the reason why I wanted Thomas Frank at Tottenham was because of the evolution in their attacking game that I saw in the final season that he was there. They did start to, at home, dominate the ball a little bit more. It wasn't like they weren't Pep Guardiola's Man City or anything like that. But there was definitely a shift. There was definitely a shift in terms of the way that they played, and it was like, okay, now we've built the foundation. It almost maybe felt like Thomas Frank probably knew that he didn't have that much longer left at Brentford, and was like, this is my audition to get a big job. I'm going to start to tweak things a little bit now. That's kind of what it felt like looking back at it in hindsight.
And it did all happen as well around the times where he was linked to the Bayern Munich job. He was quite vocal about the fact that he did want to go and manage in the Champions League one day, and that he did see himself at Brentford in the super long term.
Liverpool and Chelsea as well he was linked with, wasn't he?
100%.
Interviewed for both those jobs, and Man United.
And it's just, unfortunately, sometimes you take a risk on a manager from a club who are, obviously, I mean, they finished above us last season, sure, but a club that has very different expectations in Brentford, and sometimes it just doesn't scale up. And sometimes, unfortunately, that manager is proved to just be no more than really a mid-table / lower table Premier League manager. And that's like Thomas Frank did amazingly at Brentford. Like I will never ever discredit him for what he did at Brentford. It was an amazing job that he did there at that football club. He's their greatest ever manager. But you do kind of look at it now and you go, okay, Keith Andrews has come in. Brentford are doing okay. They're around that mid-table point as well, and
they're basically as well off as they were at this point last season, pretty much.
I don't know.
When everyone was raving about Brentford.
There's just this nagging feeling in my head now that I'm just like, maybe we were just wrong in quite a big way about Thomas Frank. And I look at the manager market, and that's the thing that scares me even more because it's bleak out there. Unless you can get maybe an Italiano from Bologna, who I know has been doing very well. Unless you can, I mean, I wish that Cesc Fabregas had a better relationship with Spurs because then maybe he's probably the up and comer in the manager market right now. But obviously, there's literally a 0% chance of him ever managing Tottenham, and I wouldn't want him to ever manage Tottenham. And it's like, who else do you go and get? Like who is there that you can go and hang your hat on and go, that's an upgrade. That's somebody who's going to play some really nice football. That's somebody, Jurgen Klopp, you fancy it, mate? You know what I mean? Like this is incredibly unrealistic, and it's I mean, I've seen people saying, does Slot get sacked from Liverpool? I would absolutely hate Spurs to appoint Arne Slot because, I mean, first of all, what he's done this season with Liverpool. Second of all, hiring a manager straight after they've just been sacked by someone is just
from a big job as well.
And he'll be coming into Spurs under incredible scrutiny because of what just happened at Liverpool, probably. And look, this is unfair on Slot because he's not even been sacked yet from Liverpool, right? He might turn this around at Liverpool, who knows? But it's just one of those situations where it's like, is the grass actually greener? Is it greener enough to not give Thomas Frank a proper chance, maybe until the new year to turn this around? Because I think we've got about 8 or 9 games between now and the new year. We've got a very, very congested fixture block. If he can get a little run of momentum going, if he can turn it around in a little way, maybe it's a case of he's needed this incredibly large wake-up call. And I think this Arsenal game would have really been where it's like, okay, we're stopping with the he's your new manager. He's not, things are maybe taking a bit. It's now like, no, it's now or never for you, Thomas Frank. You have to change things now. And it's maybe a case of that is the boost that he needs to make a change in a big way and to try things and to experiment because he has the squad to do it. And I don't see any reason why that shouldn't start against Fulham.
I agree. I agree. And it's not even like, where we've said it about managers in the past where, how Poch had the Harry Kane moment at Aston Villa. Where things turn around. I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's not like he needs a win because we've had our away record speaks for itself this season pre-Arsenal. Like we've had, there are elements in terms of results where it's not all bad. It's not like he doesn't need he doesn't need a win. He doesn't need like something to go for him. He needs to show a plan. That's the thing. He doesn't need like something to kickstart the momentum. It's on him to be able to deliver a plan to start winning these kind of games against Fulham and against Brentford next week. And if he can do that, then you start to sort of maybe turn around in terms of your belief and go, okay, right, well, he is... Well, I find it really frustrating because I remember... And this is why we should probably just stop paying attention to things that managers say, generally speaking. And we've spoken to death about when Frank came in the summer and was like, we want to be brave, attacking football, to take risks, to not take risks, to take risks. Like, that conversation has been done a little bit to death now. But like, I'm thinking back to after the Bournemouth game, where like he watched that and was like, he said that was a disgusting performance. There was a lot wrong with it. And to be fair, like things did start to turn around a little bit again after that, and we were a little bit better in certain games in possession. Brighton, I think, was a good example. Like not big improvements. And signing Xavi Simons was also an improvement straight away in terms of some of those earlier games in possession. Like again, Brighton, for example.
Good yesterday, Xavi, I thought, when he came on.
He was good. I thought he was good. He was one of the only players that stood up. Like he beat Declan.
The bar was on the fucking floor, but he was good.
No, he was. I thought he was good. I think he's just got to be. He's just someone that you just got to trust completely now in whatever game you play, whatever system you set up, and he's quite clearly one of our better players on the ball. And I just think that so much of the narrative around him this season has been particularly unfair. And although you're always going to leap to the defence of your kind of players when they're getting a bit of stick in the media, I don't think he's anywhere near the top of Tottenham's list of problems at the moment, Xavi Simons. But it's like that Bournemouth game, for example, where he comes out and says that. There's been too many occasions now since then where he's come out and recognised issues going wrong, and actually he's getting worse in terms of solving them. And then you land on a game like Copenhagen where actually you do see an upturn in terms of the in possession game. And then again, against Man United, a lot of that goes out the window. But then again, surprise, surprise, when you bring on two players that are fundamentally key to the way that Spurs can actually attack and break down teams, like Udogie and Alderweireld, when you're at home in those kind of games, then things turn around. It feels like he's not getting it right in terms of the personnel and the balance of the setup. I know he's managing the squad, but it's just what, one step forward, 2 steps back every time. It feels like so far this season. That's kind of been, I think, the story of it. One step forward, 2 steps back. And he doesn't just need a moment. He doesn't need a Harry Kane free kick going in off someone's arse against Aston Villa to save his job. He needs a good performance. That's what he
Something
really needs for
sustainable.
people to get behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Something you can
And
build upon.
you are right. He does feel like he's getting certain combinations right in certain games, but it never feels like the full thing has been gotten right yet. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, in certain, maybe one game you'll see Udogie and Odebear really nicely on the left-hand side, like Copenhagen, and you'll be like, oh, I like that. And maybe that's a combination that he uses going forward, and then the next time you see it, it's in a back five, and Udogie's not allowed to break forward. The next time you see something good in terms of at the start of the season, even if you think back to the Gray and Bergvall pivot against Burnley and how well that did for us in that game. Okay, now we've not seen it again. And it's like he seems to stumble on things that work for him, but then not trust it fully. And because he's a manager who likes to switch things up and really focuses on opposition in a lot of his analysis and what team best suit the opposition and how they play, it's like we're not really falling on anything. And it feels like apart from the obvious ones of Romero, Van de Ven, Vicario, Paulinho for a lot of the season, and Kudus, every other player in the squad hasn't really had any momentum at all given to them. Right. And it's like there's that
some for different
there.
reasons,
for sure.
for different, but like most of it tactical. But most of it is, I think. Yeah.
You look at Odebear, in and out of the team, not really allowed to build much momentum, but when he is on the pitch, does look good. You look at the likes of Matisse Tell, scores a lovely goal against Manchester United, 0 minutes against Arsenal. Okay, fair enough, maybe not the right game for him. But then
players aren't really being rewarded for good performances.
Lucas Bergvall playing in the 8 earlier on in the season, looked like one of our best players against Burnley. I thought he was excellent against Burnley. Not seen in the 8 again, as well. Played in the 10. And it's like consistently we're seeing little glimpses of things that are then taken away from us. And again, this all builds into this negative feeling towards Frank that the Tottenham fans now have towards him. You'd struggle to find a Tottenham fan right now that was really firmly behind Frank, I think, after that performance. I struggle to believe that you have any real feelings if you don't feel strongly about the performance from yesterday.
Yeah, I think there'd be a good amount of people that aren't there yet in terms of we should get rid of him. But I think it's almost like a bit apathetic, which is actually kind of more dangerous. Sometimes
I'm honestly I'm a bit checked out again, to be honest. It's like, okay, we're already ninth in the Premier League. Yeah, sure, we can still get Europe, whatever. But I'm a little bit checked out because it's so unenjoyable to watch. You pay so much money to do it. Talking about it every week's an absolute pain in the arse. It's like there's nothing that you can cling on to right now. I think that, you know, the games against Chelsea, Arsenal and United up until the 70th minute, we've had a total of like 0.3 XG in those games, and it's like you've not even
back-to-back records for our lowest XG in Premier League history.
It's just absolutely insane. And you think about all of that. You think about Thomas Frank in the press conferences, talking about duels, talking about set pieces. My head was gone before the North London derby as well, watching his pre-match press conference, and the reporter asked him the question, how big an influence do you think set pieces are going to have today? Is it the team that wins the set piece battle comes out on top? Thomas Frank just went, he went, well, not completely, but whoever wins the set piece battle has a very good chance of winning this game. Arsenal just go and play us off the park. Fucking embarrassing. And it's like, we're talking so much about set pieces, and we're talking so much about the marginal gains in football. And it's like, the marginal gains only really come into effect when you can actually fucking compete in the first place. That's when the marginal gains kick into effect. When you're coming up against a team maybe that play good football, similar quality, you can both play football, you're both going to create chances. Okay, and then it's if one team's better at set pieces.
That's why they're called marginal gains.
Yeah, it's like Thomas Frank is so obsessed with marginal gains and we're not fucking getting anywhere because we're moving at a snail's pace. It's like unbelievable.
Marginal gains, 1%ers, whatever you want to call them. It's like they're called 1%ers because it's like the rest of that 99% to get you to a point
that's
where
the foundation.
That's the foundation, and then it's like these things can be really decisive. Like you said, if a game is really tight, and I think we exist in we've said this so many times about other kind of topics, but we exist in this really weird space as Spurs fans, and I feel like, especially after what happened in the summer, where we had a manager obviously let go who won us a trophy, who, you know, was incredibly gung ho for the most part, and then we felt like Frank was probably going to be the right sort of balance in between, which is what we needed. Someone that was going to pay more attention to the marginal gains and 1%ers to actually make a difference, because we were losing games under Ange. We were having games go against us being decided by set pieces under Ange, and that was what was so frustrating during that period. It was like, if you just cared a little bit more about this, you can add to the foundation that you've built in terms of actually playing good football, which is what we did do under Ange. If we cared more about set pieces, we would have got in that Champions League in that first season, 100%.
And
which is crazy, really, when you look back at it. Like we would have comfortably been in the top 4 if Ange gave a shit about set pieces, 100%. And now it's gone so far the other way, where it's like the jewels and we needed a bit of that, 100%. We needed to kind of bring it back into the middle, but it feels like he's overcorrected so much now, where it's like, that is our main game.
So far the other way. It's
Aston Villa at home, a great example of that in terms of the long throws and stuff like that. It's like, this is why that conversation arose around long throws around that time. It's like, I don't have an issue with Spurs taking long throws. I don't have an issue with Spurs improving set pieces. Of course I wouldn't. Who would? You want your team to score as many goals as possible, and set pieces are a huge part of that. But if you're doing it at the behest and at the sacrifice of not being able to get your best players into the game, like Simmons, etc., who's been stifled of the ball. I know we're going back like a month and a bit now to that Villa game, but that is the real problem. If you can't, there's no point in just relying on set pieces. If it's anti-football to do that, in my opinion. If you're not getting your best players into the game, just to purely focus on that.
And the problem, to kind of round off on this point, I guess, but the problem is it goes a lot deeper than just Frank, and it goes a lot deeper than just Ange, and it goes back to the mess that has existed at the top of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for years and years now, from directors of football to the chairman to the owners, to constantly flip-flopping from one style to another, to end up with a playing squad that suits one manager in 50% of it and suits another manager in the other 50% of it, and leaves young players with no pathway, and leaves older players coming in to plug gaps that end up staying at the club for too long. It ends up with, you're probably going to sack Thomas Frank. Well, maybe Thomas Frank gets the sack, and you're left with probably going to come in with a positive manager that really wants to be front-footed again, because we want our Tottenham back and all that, because we've been so bad in the first few games. But then you signed João Paulinho on loan, and you've signed players that are suited to playing Thomas Frank's style of football that is more dual-heavy. And it all comes back to the fact of...
On that point, though, I would say that I think there would be plenty of... And I'm not saying, we like we've both said, we don't want Thomas Frank to go as of right now. I think that would probably be the wrong thing to do. Yeah. But if the change was to be made and Spurs do decide to go to a more progressive, front-footed coach because it fits in with our DNA, the players to do it, of course. For the most part, like, it's not an amazing squad, but there are players out there. There are a lot of coaches who are good at improving young players, playing with more kind of attacking freedom. Some of these coaches will be looking at going, I get to work with Kudus, I get to work with Javi Simmons. Look at these young midfielders, Sarr, Bergvall, Archie Gray. Like, these are players that obviously we've bigged up as Spurs fans because of the job that they've done for us. But other managers and coaches will be looking at those guys as well, thinking there is a real good foundation there for some of these guys. The squad needs fleshing out and deepening and refining in certain areas, and an addition in terms of the quality. But there would be other managers looking at that. And this is why I get frustrated with Frank, because as much as, yes, the recruitment over the last few years has been poor, people talk about the summer window. I thought we had a good summer window. Yes, we needed to sign a progressive passer, and that was probably the thing that was missing, and a bit of defensive depth. But like, you've just signed 2 really exciting attackers in Kudus and Simmons, and you can't get us to score a goal. That's you. That's not on the recruitment. I think it's a bit of a cop out, a little bit, to start talking about the summer in terms. There were areas where we were left short, but like, this was seen at the time as quite a decent window for Tottenham, and I think the squad is there to not to definitely get in the top 4 or anything like that, but to be showing a lot more quality than we are right now.
Good. Like, I have no issue with the squad, and like I said, the squad has been assembled from a multitude of different styles and managers. But at the end of the day, that means we've got quite a versatile squad in terms of a lot of players suited to different things, and a lot of players who can plug and play in other styles and systems as well, for sure. But we have a lot of talent in that squad. I absolutely am not. I think it's a massive cop-out to just say, but look at the squad in a game like yesterday. But look at the squad. It's like far worse squads have gone to Arsenal and competed with Arsenal. Lost games maybe, sure, but been more competitive on all fronts. And it's like, to just sit there and blame the squad, to look at a squad that has Javi Simmons, Mohamed Kudus. I mean, I know Richarlison started yesterday. I actually thought he was probably our best player on the day, but you got the likes of Kola Moani, you got the likes of Dominic Solanke, you got the likes of Wilson Odobert on the left-hand side, you got players like Lucas Berba, Pat Matsar. To look at that squad and go, we can't play any sort of football, we can't progress the ball forwards, we can't create chances, is a ludicrous thing to say. I mean, you saw it under Ange Postecoglou when we had an ageing Sonny, Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson on the wings, you know what I mean? Like, it's it's one of those things where you can't just look at this squad and go, "Oh, well, the squad's not good enough." So how would you expect Frank to do? I don't buy that narrative in the slightest. So
Yeah.
I think for me, it's up to Frank to turn it around. Kind of from this point forth, it's up to the players as well to show some fight, to show some intensity at the very least, which is not something that we showed yesterday at all, as they admitted themselves.
Asking for the basics in it, really.
And look, at the end of the day, both me and Ben have kind of said it. I'd still consider myself Frank in. I'd still consider myself as somebody who wants to see Frank continue and succeed at Spurs. But I am on the edge. I'm on the edge of
Fulham is huge.
Yeah, Fulham
PSG will have no real bearing on my... Yeah, PSG, I don't want us to go and sit there in a disgusting low block and not compete. But the result and the outcome of that game, and I think that will probably nudge me a little bit further if we show no fight, considering that we
get battered and we set up the same way that we did against Arsenal, then that just pushes me further. But like you say, it's Fulham.
Yeah, it's Fulham that's the one that will...
edge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.